Today on Heart to Heart with Abagaba, we're joined by indie author and longtime online shop owner, Kira Hartley Klinger. She is the creative force behind two books that dive into the entertaining and surprisingly lucrative world of auctions and resale. She's built a career on curiosity, hustle, and a sharp eye for the stories objects carry. She shares her journey, her most memorable finds, and the lessons she's learned from the resale world. If you love a good treasure hunt, this one is for you. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Abby Dominguez. This is Heart to Heart with Abba Gaba podcast, and I'm so glad you're here. I spent over a decade as a nanny and teacher, learning from children and families around the world. Now I bring those lessons to you, heart to heart conversations with people from all walks of life, sharing stories of love, laughter, and resilience that remind us of the power of connection and community. Subscribe today and join our village of heart to heart listeners. Kira, welcome to Heart with Abagaba.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I am happy to be here.
Awesome. Where are we? Where are you joining us from?
I am in Ohio. I know you're on the
Yeah,
West Coast, but I don't know where.
I know. I'm in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay. Yep.
I used to live in Philadelphia, PA, and I took a few trips to Ohio a few times, but
I'm from Northeast
somewhere.
Ohio. Yeah,
Oh,
so it's
okay.
close to Cleveland, but I was born in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is much prettier
Oh.
than Ohio. Yes. Hmm.
So nice meeting you. So, Kira, take us back to the beginning. How did you first get pulled into the world of auctions and resale?
That happened really by mistake. I always tried to be present for my kids when they were growing up. I had three kids, and I didn't want anybody else raising my kids. I didn't want to put them in daycare. So much like you, I schlepped my kids along for a long time. In my really early years, I actually used to clean houses for people, and I was writing then too, but writing didn't help pay the bills. So I cleaned houses for probably 20 years, and I used to take my kids with me if
Aw,
they weren't in school yet, or if they were off for the summer.
right.
How I did not get fired, I have no idea. um, my one son, when he was two, he just he just was into everything. I mean, he put an entire pack of markers down somebody's drain.
Uh-oh.
He cut holes in screen doors for the dog, and it was cute the first time he cut the hole in the screen door for the dog, but after they replaced the screen and he cut it a second time, it
Uh-oh.
wasn't so cute. Yeah. So anyway, what happened, yes, I was writing. I mean, I've been writing my whole life, but I ended up a single parent with the last of my kids when I was 40 and my daughter was a teenager. And it's like, I've come this far. I can't quit now. And I already had a side job working at the school. So I was just trying to find something that I could do that would help supplement the income. I kind of wasn't writing at that time in my life because it didn't make money, and I just didn't have time for it. So that's when I got started buying and selling, and it made me the extra money I needed to get by.
Wonderful. Writing takes so much time and prep and edits and yeah, it takes so much
Yes,
time.
it really does.
No,
And it is
mhm.
not a lucrative job.
It is
So
not, seriously.
no.
You have to sell like so many books to even like, I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That will be for another conversation. Uh, so every auction has characters and you have a favorite competitor. No, no, let me reframe. Every auction has characters. Did you have a
Yes.
favorite competitor or someone who kept things fun or challenging?
Most of the competition, um, I'm kind of in my own lane. There's people that buy and sell very specifically. They like to buy and sell toys or coins or jewelry. They're specific. And I never really wanted to get in the arena with people that had these specific areas, of knowledge per se. But that, it just sometimes they were collectors, sometimes they were going to sell it, but it was just hard to compete with people that really practiced their art for just one thing because they had it down pat. So I always felt like, okay, if I outbid them, chances are they quit bidding because it already reached its value. So
Right.
I was always looking for the things that nobody else wanted, the things that were selling inexpensively.
Ah,
And sometimes they were
nice.
duds, but a lot of times they weren't duds. And a lot of times I made a lot of money and I still make a lot of money looking for the things that are
Nobody
hidden
wants.
in the corners.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah. And so usually the competition is manageable. Now there are times though when people go up against me who happen to know something about it, just like I happen to know something about it. And so at that point, yeah, it can get a little bit competitive. There have definitely been, when it came to fabric, fabric eventually became its own shop for me. And there definitely were some key people in that arena that I really had to put up the dukes for. I mean, I have spent a lot of money in the fabric ring and I have spent not so much money in the fabric ring. There's one woman that I call Krabby Patty in the book, because she was every bit of crabby. And she would get angry. I mean, we're all there to kind of have fun, and yes, it gets competitive, and yes, we get aggravated, annoyed, but she might as well have like stomped her feet around the ring because she just, yeah, she had kind of a large attitude. But she also made me spend the most money on fabric that I've ever spent in my life. I only had to go up against her twice. She disappeared from the auction scene. I have not seen her in probably 4 years. But every time there's a big fabric sale, it's always in the back of my brain. Is this going to be when Krabby Patty shows her face again?
Of all your finds, what's the
Mhm.
one that still stands out as your most memorable or meaningful?
Oh boy. I have a lot of really memorable ones. I think, though, that the one that stands out in my mind that I think about, it usually is the first one to pop up. And I think it's because it was the first big money maker that I found. I used to go to this auction house every Wednesday, and I don't like auction houses. It's all through my books why I don't like auction houses. But I used to go to this particular one. They had sales every Wednesday, and I had a good friend of mine, and we would go together, and we would sit and we'd eat pretzels and cheese and nachos, and she'd bring her crochet to do, and we were always working on something and talking, and it just was more of a social thing. Um so this one time there was a magic trick that came up on the auction block, and
Oh,
nobody
tell
really
us.
knew any. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. I don't know anything about a lot of the things that I randomly buy. It's like if the price is right and it looks interesting, I'll gamble on it. But especially back then, I mean, I've learned a lot over the last 20 some years. So it was this magic trick, and it was some sort of snake, and it had something to do with
What?
cards. Yeah, it was like a snake. Yeah, but it was big. It was in this big wicker basket, like those, snake charming things. Picture like the snake charmer where it does the dance to the music, slithers out of the basket. It was that sort of thing. Okay. I couldn't figure out how to get it to work. I didn't really know what it was. Um, Back then, it was really fun to list things on eBay and let people bid on it because people used to love to bid. Nobody likes to bid anymore. It's such an instant gratification culture that anymore I don't let people bid because nobody shows up to bid. People want to buy it now. So I've gotten good enough that I can stick a price on it and I don't mess around with bidding. But the bidding used to be fun. So again, I knew nothing about this magic trick. I just took pictures of it. and start at a bid. I think I paid maybe $22.50 for this magic trick. And it was so big that they stored it in like a drum case, like a carrying case for a snare drum, you know. And so I just threw it out there, and almost immediately this bidding war took off. And I would watch it like constantly all day long, the whole time, because it just kept going higher and higher and higher. And I'm like, holy cow, you know. So yeah, that magic trick ended up selling to somebody. Gosh, he was overseas. I'm trying to remember what country he was from, but he was in a bidding war with one of his magician competitors. It sold for $1,200 plus. And, you know, it was, I guess it was a handmade magic trick, and they were very obsolete. And this snake, it dealt cards. It was a card trick. I never quite fully understood how it worked, didn't care, sent it overseas. The fun thing about it, my middle son was graduating high school at the time, and I had this thing worked out with them where, okay, when you graduate, we have your graduation party. However much money you bring in, I'll match it, you know. So I owed him $1,000, and it sold that summer when I owed him $1,000. And back then I was poor. So it's like, woo, you know, on one hand, I'm super excited because I can give my kid this $1,000. And on the other hand, I'm super sad because I had to give this kid my $1,000, you know? But yeah, I got lucky many times, but that was one of my favorites.
Oh, you've mentioned the Grammy Whammy, and I wanted to know
Yes.
this, but can you tell our listeners what that is?
So I deal in a lot of vintage fabric and vintage textiles. And no matter what anybody wants to believe about themselves or their house or their cleaning habits or whatever, everybody's house smells like something. It just does. It doesn't mean it's something's bad. It just
Right.
means it smells like something, you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people out there that have really sensitive noses. My mother is one of them, and a lot of different smells are irritating to them. Now, we can look at the obvious smells that come out of somebody's house that might be offensive, like, you know, cigarette smoke, or if it's musty, or strong cooking odors, perfumes, you know, the main culprits that really aggravate some people's senses. So, in dealing with fabrics and textiles, it's always going to smell like something. And I had to have a way to remove the smell if I wanted to be able to sell it.
Right.
So I, you know, I kind of like, yeah, I am not a scientist or a chemist or whatever, but I played with some things. I came up with this product. Originally, it was a chemical based product and it worked, but I wasn't satisfied because a lot of people are sensitive to the use of chemicals in their laundry too. So I had to find something that was all natural. So eventually I came up with this product, and it is a wet product. It is basically, it's a rag that is soaked in this natural liquid. There's no perfumes, there's no dyes, there's no artificial anything, and it's 100% natural. And it works in the dryer with
Mm.
dry textiles, dry fabric. You can throw like a whole bunch of sticky fabric in the dryer with one of these Grammy Whammies, put it on low for 30 minutes, and it steams the odor out. It's like odor is a germ. And so these natural properties of this product,
Uh-huh.
it kills the germ that causes the odor. So 30 minutes
Oh,
later, it smells like nothing. You know, there's no
oh,
smell at all. It's gone.
wow. That's
And
amazing.
it does really well in my shop. It does really well, like helping to prepare things for my, it's become probably my most priceless selling tool.
It lives up to its name, Grammy Whammy.
Yeah. Well, I'm Grammy, you know, I've got
And
my grandbabies. But yeah.
that's wonderful. I love it. So what's the story behind the name Dad Daddy? It definitely catches the car.
Yeah, it's called DodOddity, and it is the name of
Oh,
my
I said it wrong. Thank you for the correction.
You're okay. No, it's the name of my Etsy shop, and my Etsy shop is where I sell my fabric and my textiles. My grandfather to us, his name was Dodd, and, and he was the king of recycling things and repurposing things, saving things, thinking I can use this someday. So, when I started sourcing all of these, because I don't just sell fabric, I'll buy old tattered quilts and I'll cut them up for the pieces that are still good. Or, I'll buy old wool clothing and I will turn it into wool felt that people can use for applique, for quilting and whatnot. So I repurpose a lot. I really try not to throw anything away. And I have a pretty good customer base that, comes for that reason.
That is
So it
wonderful.
just, I
That's
don't know, it
awesome.
just stuck, you know, DodOddity. It just became the name of my shop.
I like it. I have to check out your Etsy store. I love fabrics. I used to sew, I used to make handbags. I used to fabric is my thing. I love. So just hearing you talk about fabrics and
I
the
love
you've been
it
caring for them, it's like it just making me smile right now. It just takes me back to the days where I would sew and anyway.
too. Yeah. Yeah. And you can find stuff in my shop that, you can't find anywhere. I buy it from estates. I buy it from people who quilt and craft and sew like you and I do. And it's their big collections, and then they pass away and the family doesn't want it, So here comes me. I will take
Yay. I'm
every
clapping.
last
I'm cheering right now. If you can hear my clap, yay.
bit.
Okay, so for someone just starting out, what are some simple low budget ways to advertise or get your items noticed?
Advertising for me, I'm constantly trying to grow in that department. I have always been very thrifty. I don't like to pay for things that net me nothing. So the idea of spending a bunch of money to advertise for anything is very hard for me. Um, when the books that I wrote, the Fabric Wars series that I wrote, they are books that tell the stories of the estates where these collections came from. And so it might talk about the estate itself, or it might talk about the competition, or it might talk about, the auctioneer. You never know. But it was my customers on Etsy that told me to write these books, because
Oh, I love
I was
it.
writing little, yeah, it's like a big family. I love it too. We can talk projects and everything else, but I was writing like little mini essays on my listings whenever I would dive into a new estate collection. This is where it came from. And the collections in my shop are titled like the chapters in my book. So it might be Krabby Patty or Honest Abe or Amish Attitude, or, whatever. But those are the different rooms in my shop, if you will.
I like
So
it.
I was writing and I had enough people write in and say, you really need to write a book. And so that's how the book started. So after I published the book, I'm like, okay, well, now it's on me to really promote and advertise this thing. So of course, naturally, the first thing I did is like, I already have my audience. So I would just put notes inside all of my packages saying, hey, okay, I wrote this book, you should check it out, blah, 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 and it was, I took time writing it, but it didn't take me but a minute to print out sheets of paper that this note is duplicated like 4 times on, and I cut them
Mhm.
apart, and, really super easy, takes no time at all. And writing like a little handwritten thank you, I appreciate you, something personal, kind of makes the customer feel like you care a little bit, which is never a bad thing. But it's 100% free, takes 2 seconds. So, I've sold books that way. Yeah, I mean that's probably my cheapest, freest,
I love
effective
it.
advertising.
I love it. It's like word of mouth. To me, it's more personal, like you mentioned. It's deeper than with thought, with care. I like it.
I
Makes you
mean,
feel
it
warm.
honestly, yeah, it really is. And I get repeat customers that way. I get, bigger orders. It's like you earn this little trust thingy,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's really huge in business.
yes, yes. It's really huge. That makes me so happy. I'm happy that you shared that because at the end of the day, it's about communities, the human connections that are unforgettable. So that is great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. What's the weirdest thing you've sold that ended up being a great moneymaker?
There are so many really weird and off the wall things. And eBay, I sell on eBay too. That's where I started. And oh my gosh, some of these things are like almost embarrassing and hysterical to talk about at the same time. And eBay, they cannot make up their minds sometimes. So once upon a time, and I've not researched them in a while because I've not found them in a while, but once upon a time, you could get really good money for women's underwear from like the 1950s, 60s, 70s. I mean, if you picture the old-fashioned granny panties, like the up to rib cage silky nylon, I mean, it didn't matter if they were used as long as they were in good shape, and it's just parts of it are so wrong. Once in a blue moon, I would see somebody that got lucky and found a brand new, never worn pair of granny panties with blue, they'd be blue with flowers on them. I think the most expensive pair I saw sold for $500 for one pair.
What?
Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Wow.
So I had gone to this one auction, and it's not something you normally find. See, that's the thing, because most people, when they're cleaning out an estate, they throw that stuff away, right? Um,
Right.
and so and plus thrift stores aren't allowed to take used garments like that. And eBay has gone back and forth between whether they will allow you to sell used undergarments or not. So that's why I say they can't make up their mind. They've done that with cloth diapers. They've done that with women's underwear, with men's underwear. They can't make up their mind if you're allowed to sell it used or not. So I'm not sure where they stand to this date. There was one auction that I went to, and I bought both closets, two or three closets from this woman's wardrobe. She had a tremendous amount of clothes, and I had done an absentee bid because I wasn't able to stay and bid on it. So the day that I came back to pick it up, it was just me and the auctioneer coming to pick up my stuff. And he had said to me, there's all this stuff out in the garage that we're just throwing away. The sale's over. It's either leftovers, whatever. You're more than welcome to go pick through it, take anything you want. Okay, Free is my middle name. Hello. So I went out to the garage and I had to dig around. And in one of the bags, I found all the contents of her dresser drawers, which included nightgowns and lots of used nylon panties. And so, mind you, I'm like picking these up gingerly, right? But I know at the time that they're worth money. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, but okay. And so I picked them up, I put them in a bag. I washed them in the hottest water, got them good and clean, whatever, threw out the ones that, let's be honest, I left behind the ones that were scary.
That were scary.
But the ones that still looked good, I took them home, I cleaned them, I did everything. Anyway, I think I got down to like 18 pairs of panties, and they sold for almost $400 collectively by the time I was done.
Whoa.
Couldn't believe it. I mean, for free,
Wow.
So yeah, I've done some really dicey diving for things to make money in my past.
So I was listening you talk about like the 1950s, if we see the trend of fashion today,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost unbelievable that, the style that time was, I mean, I don't know. I see how interesting it can be because of, looking back and today's fashion.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Wow.
I know,
How
it's
with you,
crazy.
Kira?
I mean, the bullet bras from that era used to be really popular too. The bullet bras are exactly what they sound like. They look pointy, so there's like empty space in them. But those used to be hugely popular too. Yeah, but it's the constant trends are changing constantly, and it's been a long time. Yeah.
And it's amazing what you can find, huh? Stuff that we don't even think about, Wow.
Yeah.
That
Yeah. I mean, I bought and sold a pair of used dentures one time that were
What?
old. Yeah, they were probably, oh gosh, They were old. They were early dentures, maybe 1940s. And I found them just randomly in a,
1940s. See that right
yeah,
there, 1940s. Like that's like, wow.
yeah, it's a long time ago. They were like primitive in the denture world, but I consider them to be free too because they came in a bag of old denim overalls that I bought. I didn't know there was an old set of dentures in there, but what made them worth even more money was that they were for a woman, and you determined
Oh,
that by how big they were, how wide they were. Like typically a woman's denture would be so wide and a men's would be so wide because women's mouths are smaller, you know? So it was less common that a woman had dentures than it was a man because, you know, the women did not get the same as the men back then. It wasn't something, you know, the man was the worker of the family. You know what I mean? So it was treated differently. And
yeah.
so that set of free dentures sold for about 175 bucks. I mean, but there's people that collect it.
Wow.
It's really strange. You know, it's strange what people are interested in.
It is. And until you are in that field, you wouldn't know. I'm learning so much today. Wow. I remember that when I was expecting, I was in need of a like a three-tier cart, and my friend auctioned one for me, and I was so grateful. It came in handy. Um,
Yeah.
so I was grateful. It was usable. I still have it. It's clean. It's good. Look, it's good. So yeah, this topic is really hitting home for me.
I am all about reusing, repurposing anything I can. For me too. My house is full of reused and repurposed things that I've found at auctions. So yeah, I love it.
So I know we may have touched on this, but I want to know, how did your journey as an indie author begin? I'm dying to know this. I know we may have touched on this a little bit, but any information will be delightful.
Yeah, so well, really I've been writing my whole life. But I really thought that I could maybe make a go of it when I was in my 20s and 30s. I used to write novels back then. I wrote four great big novels. Um, I was trying to go the traditional route. You know, back then, if you published it yourself, it was kind of shameful, you know. It just wasn't something you did. People felt like if you could not get a traditional publisher, then certainly you were the only person that believed in your work,
Right.
which it's sad because if you know anything about the publishing world, especially the traditional publishing world, it is really super hard to even get your inquiry landed on the desk of the person that you sent it to. There are all
Yep.
these assistants that are in the way that are batting it down as quick as it comes in. So, you know, it's real tempting to take rejections personally,
Yeah.
and to not want to keep going, you know. I collected a tremendous amount of rejections in 10 years, tremendous amount.
Oh.
I didn't publish my first piece of work until I was in my 30s, and it was a magazine article.
Hmm.
So when I finally came back to writing, um, you know, I was older. I was at this point, I was in my 50s. And yeah, vanity publishing really wasn't called that anymore. Everybody was self-publishing, everybody was publishing through Amazon. And I just, you know, when I was in my 20s and in my 30s, you kind of feel a little bit immortal. You kind of feel like you have time in your life, all the time in the world to find a publisher. You don't want it to take that long. It used to drive me crazy stalking the mailman and waiting and waiting and waiting. But
Yeah.
you just, you know, looking back, it's like, wow, back then, at least I felt like I had the time to spare. And I just didn't want to play the game anymore in my 50s. You know, I felt like I had my audience with or without a publisher or an editor that believed in me. And I just, you know what, it's like, why not? You know, I feel like I can sell some of these books on my own.
Yeah.
So I just decided to publish it myself. And I didn't, again, it goes back to, I don't like to pay for a lot of things. I like things that are cheap and free. And even though I'm not broke anymore, I still didn't want to invest a lot of money into the process. So I learned how to do the formatting and the
Mm.
editing myself. I paid somebody to do the cover because that kind of hurt my brain a lot trying to figure out how to format a cover.
Yeah,
And that was
that's
that,
hard.
yeah, that,
It's yeah. I'm
yeah,
with
that
you
was
in
kind of a no-brainer.
that. I feel like once you get a hang of it, it gets better, I think. Um, I'm an indie author as well. I'm with you on the views that you shared, and I use Atticus to format my books. So
Nice.
it's yeah, it's quite a
I've not
thing.
tried Atticus. I use Microsoft Word.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah, I've not tried that
some
one yet.
yeah, somebody an author friend of mine introduced it to me and I fell in love with it. So I paid someone to do my cover, my formatting, my whole thing. And what Atticus did was way better than what I paid money for. Anyway, that'll
Nice.
be for another conversation. But I
Yeah, no, now I'm gonna look.
yeah, Atticus, and you pay like a one-time fee and you have it for forever, I guess. I hope that's
Okay.
it's right now, but as of when I got into it, that's what it was. It was a game changer. Anyway, moving on. I don't want to digress.
No, you're fine.
um,
It's really daunting, the whole
it
process. So
is.
yeah.
It really is. It really, really is. It's not. It's for the faint of heart. But I'm so grateful for
No.
self-publishing because, yeah, you have this great story and you have this great story to impact ourselves and other people. And then with self-publishing, you can get it out there and share and keep connecting. And I'm haven't done traditional publishing yet. So indie, it's my, I'm with you, girl. High five.
Yeah. High
So,
five. All in.
so where can listeners find your books at? Oh, your store, right? Etsy, on your Etsy store?
Yeah,
Or
they can be found in on Amazon as well.
nice.
They're free downloads if you have the Kindle Unlimited, but I also can sell them in my shop. I have both paperback and hardcover available. And if you get them from me in my Etsy shop, then I can also sign them. I have bookmarks that were made that go with the books. You get a free bookmark. I get people on Etsy. It's a great gift to give to people that are into this kind of thing, are into fabric or
Handmade.
textiles or quilting or
Yeah.
crafting or resale. So that hard to buy for a person.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um,
Mhm.
I will put all the links in the show notes for listeners to see where to find you and where to buy your book. Do you have any new books or projects on the way?
And this is kind of like a passion project of mine. My husband, I remarried and we have 8 grandchildren between the two of us. Um, we have a 5-acre hobby farm with ducks and chickens and horses, and there's a pond to go fishing, and there's a water slide on a boat to, we just have this whole setup. And the 8 grandkids come for camp for a week every summer.
Oh,
And at one point, we bought an old church bus because there were 8 kids and we were hiring junior counselors from church and the two of us, and we needed something bigger. So, yeah, we bought this bus. I repainted the bus like the Scooby-Doo bus that has
ooh,
turquoise shag
nice.
fur ceiling inside and flowered seats. And, it's a lot of fun. My mom, for as long as I've been writing, my mom used to always say, you should write children's books. And I'm like, I don't want to write kids books. I mean, I love kids to pieces, but man, I want to write a novel.
It's
I want to
so
write this.
hard. Children's books. Yeah.
Yeah. And so once camp started, she would say, okay, now you really need to write stories about camp because, I post all these pictures of camp on social media and we have like this cult following for Camp Klinger every year. And then when I got the bus, my mom is like, okay, now you need to write stories about camp, but I want you to tell it through the eyes of the bus. I'm like, okay, mom, come on. you know. But it just ended up happening. My best friend does the cover art for my other books, and she's in my other ear saying, I really want to illustrate a children's book. And so, I finally gave in and said, okay, let's do this. So we released the first one last May. It
Oh,
these books,
congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, no, it actually was way more fun, but I did not do any of the formatting, children's book and formatting. Yeah, no.
It's a whole
So
different game. Yep.
whole different game. So I
Yep.
did hire out for that. Um, but yeah, so it kind of let me flex a little bit on it too, though, because yes, I could tell stories about camp, but I also could touch on a bigger message for kids too. I've always been like this huge advocate for kids, this big, I don't know. I've built missions around kids. I try to support kids any way I can. I worked at home with my kids. I just always had this passion for kids and their emotional well-being and stability and all those other things. So, by writing these books, I was able to explore emotions in children as well and try to send home, because yeah, I want the books for my grandkids to have so that they have them forever and ever, but other kids that aren't my grandkids, I want them to get something out of it besides just the camp story.
Right.
So I started like sticking these little messages throughout the book. Like this book talks about how we found the bus, and when the bus was old and dirty and feeling forgotten and unloved, and just the
Oh,
whole process of bringing this bus home and the different emotions that the bus goes through, from beginning to end.
I love
The
it.
bus feels like a nothing bus, and yeah. So at the end of the first book, the bus finds out, the message is I am loved. And so, the second book hopefully will be due out early next year. It is already written, and the message for that one is I am special. So I see
Oh,
myself with a series to where every one of these books has some sort of message like that for the child. I told my friend that since she got me started on this, that a series can't be a series unless it's at least 10 books long. So I think she's kind of wondering what she was thinking, but yeah, she's busy drawing right now.
oh, I love that it was said to write the story from the eyes of the bus. I
Yeah.
like love that. Oh my goodness, Kira, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on Heart to Heart with Abagaba and to share your light, your heart with us today. Do you have
I
anything?
appreciate you having me.
Oh, Kira, thank you so much for joining me today. Your stories from the auction and resale world are just incredible. And I know listeners will walk away inspired and maybe even ready to try a little treasure hunting of their own. And to everyone listening, thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who loves a good find. I'll see you next time on Heart to Heart with Abagaba. Thank you for sharing this space with us on Heart to Heart with Abagaba. I hope this conversation inspired you to keep moving forward in hope and light. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone you love. Leave us a review and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment of inspiration, connection, and joy. May your home be filled with peace, your heart with joy, and your spirit with the quiet strength of love. Until next time, take care of your heart, take care of each other, and keep celebrating the love that makes us family.